Let's talk about that bike that Tawny was on.
Absolutely.
Pretty interesting. Orbea has their new downhill bike, but is being sort of marketed as a downhill or enduro frame.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they're doing that is with different links. They're calling it the gravity link in the bottom of the frame, similar to how the Scott is with the hidden shock. There's a little button. The whole sort of skid plate, if you will, comes off, and there's different links you can change in there that changes the geo and the suspension. And in each link, there's actually a flip chip for head tube adjust and all kinds of stuff. It's really crazy how versatile this bike is, but it is kind of one of the first. I mean, all the commenters will tell me it's not the first, and then I'll know about the first, but it's one of the first big major brands that is making a convertible frame.
Yeah. That's pretty cool to see. I also did notice that flip chip does do 25 to 30% on the leverage curve. So it has like some pretty cool tunability on that chip. So, yeah, that's really cool. And, the convertible thing was cool too. I thought it would be awesome to have like a bike with a 180 fork on the enduro bike.
Yeah.
So like a big pedal bike would be cool. And then, there's so many options there.
It's cool to see like the brand Orbea is like, they're listening to the people. Like, it's not maybe a big group of people. You know, you see the Cascade Link people that, I'm going to turn my Specialized Enduro into 180 so I can put a 180 fork on it. And it's like, you know, people are tinkering and doing things all the time, and they always will. But it's pretty cool to see and it be that visible that, you know, Orbea's listening to people. Because, you know, I think you could see this bike being really cool in the mountain region, like maybe the Sea to Sky up in Canada or something like that, where all winter long, you're just like, you know, you're only riding one type of bike. And then all summer long, it's like, okay, it's bike park season. I got a lift pass, whatever. Let's turn this thing into a downhill bike. And then I'm going to ride my downhill bike all summer at the bike park. Like, I could see some people.
It seems like it'd be pretty easy
Yeah.
to get it swapped over if you're like going to do that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, all you really need is a different fork, right? And maybe a couple little pieces in the headset, and you're good to go.
This is also the first bike, as of that has like built-in weights you can add to the frame, right? We haven't seen that yet. I don't know of any brands I've had did that specifically with the bike.
Yeah, it was interesting, kind of reading about the bike. The Rallon called them and asked how you say it. It is the Rallon. Not the Rallon, not the Rallon, but the Rallon. But it's really interesting how it was developed. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when Martin Mays showed up at the World Cup, he had an e-bike without the motor in it.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
That's actually
I saw
where
that
the weights
and I was like,
come
what
from.
is going on?
Yeah, that's actually where the idea to have the adjustable weight, they actually, during testing, when they were developing this frame, it's so interesting that they took the e-bike and they turned it into a downhill bike to test and turn it to make a downhill bike. But they're saying that it was actually built as a trail bike. Or no, it was built as a downhill bike that can be made a trail bike rather than the other way around. We've seen people turning their trail bikes into downhill bikes, but this was actually built in the other direction.
Yeah.
And it was super interesting how they were saying they were really noticing the benefit of that lower center of gravity and that lower weight when they were testing it as an e-bike. So that is, as you're saying, part of that underneath that little cover in the skid plate where you can do the gravity link and all that stuff. There is sections. I can't remember exactly how much weight it was, but
600 grams.
600 grams.
600 grams in that lower link down there.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. I mean, we've been seeing more and more of that.
A little bit over a pound. Right?
So yeah,
a little bit over a pound down there. Yeah, I'm sure that changes the ride quality, like how stuck down the bike feels, especially on the last track where you had these sections that were like super kind of deep stabby ruts. Like having that bike stuck down where you can make a pivot and get out of that rut early. I feel like, both of them looked really good at that instead of like stabbing the rut in and out and losing momentum.
Yeah, obviously, depending on how steep the track is, I could see adding weight just for traction based on the conditions. Yeah, there's definitely a line you don't want to pass if it's just like if it's a wet Val de Sol. Like maybe not adding weight is a good thing, but
yeah, you can't just be. That's gonna eventually that'll take away from like the pedally bits and stuff. But
yeah, so
it seems like a lot of guys are putting weights on their bikes.
Yeah, in the front, in the back, in the middle, doing everything they can. When you're fighting for 1/1000th of a second, and it's every little bit counts, and you don't know till you try. So
I think it's cool that just now, your everyday guy can go do it and not have to get crafty and put something in the bottom bracket or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so cool about mountain biking. And I think at the enthusiast level, what really keeps us going is, you know, I like cars. I like race cars. I'm never going to touch an F1 car, right? I like moto. I'm never going to be able to come anywhere close to having like what Tomac has or what Jet Lawrence has. Like, I'll never experience that.
No one does.
But in mountain biking, I can go and watch a World Cup, and yeah, there's a few pieces here and there. There's a few parts. There's probably some stuff I don't know about, but for the most part, I could pick one of the top 10 riders and build that bike and go have the exact same experience.
You know what I thought was crazy when I first got into like the mountain bike racing scene was like someone who was really fast who I was racing with just like threw up all their suspension settings on his Instagram, and I'm like, what is going on right now? It's just like how open they are to product and suspension setup, everything is pretty cool.
It's not a secret.
There's no secret. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of secrets. Specialized has been doing a little bit of secrets, but hey, they're winning. So
yeah, I mean, that S-Gravity team, if they don't have something that you don't have, they're going to pretend they do.
Yeah,
it's exactly, a mental game over there. For sure.
I always think too is like they're probably not hiding anything crazy, but it's kind of the fact that they're doing it, and everybody anticipates what's, you know, is like what is making them so good, and then when you realize, hey, it was just like a little damper lockout or something, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a cover over nothing at some point, because if that's what people are talking about, they're not thinking about what they're trying to do. So it's
they definitely brought that into the scene though, because now this year, I think even last year, you didn't see that many of the remote compression on those bikes, and you're seeing them on like almost all those top guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. The sheep mentality, right? The high pivot, the lockout, the like, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the lockout's going to stay though, because like that little bridge section on the track, at the last round was like, they were just putting so much power down, and having that lockout probably was a major, maybe not a lockout. It's probably just a stiffer setting, but it was probably a major advantage.
I mean, for me, that's where electronic suspension would make sense, is in my shock on a downhill bike. And I want to be able to, I'm talking to you, electronic suspension makers. This is what I want. I want to be able to adjust by degrees or by like the clock, right? So my crank arms, you know, they have the spindle sensor, so they know if you're pedaling or not. If I want to be able to adjust it. And if I go past 15 minutes of rotation on my crank, I want my rear shock to lock out on my downhill bike.
15 minutes.
Yeah. So like a quarter turn.
Oh, okay.
A quarter turn. Yeah. So
you're turning and you just want it on.
Yeah. I want it fully locked out, because talk to me, when are you pedaling on a downhill bike that you wouldn't want it locked out?
I guess. I think
when?
You're right. But I mean, there's some instance where you just rip out of a turn.
But that's like,
if it could just do it and be off.
If you're only taking one pedal, you'll never notice.
Yeah.
But if you're like getting on the pedals, like I can think of so many.
It's just only after that would make sense. But then you have like, I like to drop my pedal a lot in corners. So
well, then you could make it,
if it goes back,
you could make it 18 minutes then.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Make it adjustable.
Would be insane.
Make it adjustable.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And it seems like the technology exists. You just got to like make the software do the thing.
I feel like,
I'm not a computer guy.
the flight attendant stuff already kind of like has that built in. So you could just like, it could probably just do it if you could have like a update, and it could probably do that.
I'm going to make it.
Do it.
Yeah. So the Rallon is like sort of bringing these sort of F1 pit options that these World Cup riders have into the consumer's hands, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah.
We want to go fast.
Yeah. Everybody wants to go faster.
Yep.